Commander Alex Riker had faced death more times than he could count. Space pirates, collapsing stations, alien creatures no one had names for. He had survived them all. Yet, as the shuttle descended toward the planet Nekral, he felt a fear unlike anything he had ever known. The planet hung in the void like a dark jewel, its black sun casting shadows that seemed alive, and rings of violet gas swirled around it like ghostly veils. Humanity had sent him here to make first contact, to represent their species to an alien civilization unlike any other. Simple words on paper had never sounded so hollow. The shuttle landed in a clearing of strange crystal structures that hummed faintly. Alex stepped out, his boots crunching against the glass-like ground. The air smelled of iron and ozone, tinged with something faintly sweet like burnt honey. Every instinct in his body screamed that he was being watched, and he was right. Shadows moved across the crystalline towers, bending in ways that defied physics, yet he could feel intent behind them. Something was alive here, something far older than humanity. The palace itself rose from the center of the city like a jagged black crown. Its towers spiraled toward the sky, smooth and impossibly sharp as though carved from night itself. Alex's heart pounded. 1,000 stories had warned him about alien civilizations, hostile, unknowable, dangerous. But nothing had prepared him for the aura of this place. It was not just beauty. It was power. It was centuries of wisdom and danger all at once. As he approached the entrance, the air grew colder. The walls pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Alex reached out, brushing his hand along the smooth black surface. It vibrated slightly beneath his fingers, a soft thrum that seemed to resonate with his own pulse. Then he heard it, a whisper that made his blood run cold. "I know you, human." Alex froze. His body refused to move. There was no wind, no vibration, no sign of the voice's source. Yet the words echoed inside his mind as clearly as if they had been spoken inches from his ear. He looked around, but the halls were empty. Every instinct told him to run, to retreat to the shuttle, to call for backup. But another feeling rooted him to the spot. Curiosity, fierce and burning. Something about this voice felt familiar. Something in it recognized him, not as an individual, but as a representative of his species. The doors to the palace opened silently, and Alex stepped inside. Darkness swallowed him at first, but then lights flickered along the walls. They were not ordinary lights. They moved like living threads, weaving patterns that seemed almost musical. Alex felt like he had entered a dream where the laws of physics bent to the will of an unseen mind. Every step echoed through the endless halls, and every echo felt like it was listening to him. Then he saw her. The Empress of Nekral stood at the end of a long hallway, tall and impossibly elegant. Her skin shimmered like liquid obsidian, reflecting the dim lights and waves. Her eyes were pools of darkness deeper than the void of space itself, and they fixed on Alex with an intensity that made his chest tighten. She did not move, yet he could feel her presence as if it were a living thing pressing against his soul. She stepped forward slowly, and the air seemed to tremble with her motion. Her lips curved into a faint smile, terrifying and beautiful all at once. She tilted her head slightly, her gaze never leaving his. "I know you, human," she whispered again, and this time, Alex felt it in his bones. A chill ran down his spine. Every fear, every doubt, every survival instinct he had ever known screamed at him to run. But Alex could not. There was something about her, something about the way she looked at him, so calm, so certain, that drew him forward despite himself. It was not just fascination. It was recognition, ancient and profound, as if she had been waiting for him for centuries. In that moment, Alex realized the truth. Humanity had arrived here not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as something else entirely. And this alien vampire empress with eyes like black stars and a voice that could pierce the mind already understood it. Somehow she knew the spark of humanity, and she knew that spark was why he had come, and why nothing would ever be the same again. Alex stood frozen as the Empress's gaze held him. There was a strange calmness in her eyes, almost like she had been expecting him all along. He could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on him, the lives of her people, the history of her rule, all packed into a single look. It was terrifying, yet strangely beautiful. Somehow, in that endless black gaze, Alex felt that she could see into his soul. "I know your kind," she whispered again, her voice soft but commanding. Humans, you carry fire where others carry fear. You are reckless, you are curious, and yet there is courage in you that I have not seen in millennia. Alex's heart skipped. How could she know? They had never met, yet her words struck a truth he could feel in his bones. Humans had survived impossible odds. Wars, disasters, the cold void of space itself. And somehow she saw that in him. It was a mixture of awe and fear, a recognition that humans were not just another species to watch or control. They were something more. Something dangerous, something extraordinary. I don't understand, Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. How do you know us? Her smile was slow, faint, but it sent chills down his spine. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen stars die and planets crumble. I have ruled for centuries, and yet, your species is different. Even now I can feel it. You carry something that others have forgotten. Hope, stubbornness, the spark of life that refuses to die. Alex swallowed hard. He had trained for first contact, for diplomacy, for negotiation, but nothing had prepared him for this. For the first time he felt small, not because he was weak, but because the universe itself seemed to notice humans through her eyes. This alien, terrifying and immortal, recognized something vital in him, and that recognition was empowering. She circled him slowly, her presence filling the room. I have known many beings, she said softly, almost to herself. All fall eventually. All crumble before time. But humans fight even when the odds are against them. Even when the universe seems to say no, you say yes. Alex felt a strange heat rise in his chest. Humans were not perfect. They made mistakes, they fell, they hurt each other. But there was a resilience here, a stubborn refusal to give in. And the Empress, ancient and powerful, saw it. She valued it. You are different, she said finally, stopping in front of him. Her eyes, black and endless, held his own in a silent challenge. You may be small, fragile, even foolish, but you are alive in a way my people have almost forgotten. And that is dangerous, Alex's mind raced. Dangerous for whom? I'm just a human, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. I don't have the power you do. I don't know what I can do here. The Empress reached out a slender, pale hand hovering just above his shoulder. You underestimate yourselves, she whispered. Humans always do. That is why you survive when others fail. That is why I know you. That is why you are not like the others. For the first time, Alex felt a strange connection, an unspoken understanding bridging centuries of difference. This was not just fear. This was respect. She saw humans not as prey, not as invaders, but as something she could neither control nor ignore, a force of nature, unpredictable and alive. The walls around them seemed to pulse as if responding to her voice. Shadows stretched and bent, moving like living things. Alex felt the weight of the palace itself, the history and power of this place pressing down, and yet he did not falter. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived storms, monsters, wars, and darkness. They had endured. And now, standing before this alien Empress, he understood why she had noticed them. I don't know if I can live up to that, Alex admitted, his voice quiet but steady. The Empress's smile softened, almost tender. You already are, she whispered. Your kind carries fire. You carry the universe in your hearts, and that is something no empire, no creature, no immortal can destroy. You are remarkable, human. And that is why I will watch you closely. Alex realized then that first contact had already changed him. Humanity was no longer just observers in the galaxy. They were being seen, acknowledged by a being who had seen civilizations die. And that recognition, terrifying as it was, filled him with a fierce, unshakable pride. The Empress tilted her head, eyes never leaving his. Soon, human. Soon the test will come, and only then will we see if your kind is truly as extraordinary as I believe. Alex nodded, unsure what that meant, but ready. For the first time, he felt that humans were not just small creatures in the vast cosmos. They were sparks of hope, sparks that even an immortal vampire empress could not ignore. The silence of the Empress palace shattered like glass. Alarms blared, red lights strobed, and the crystal-like walls vibrated under the weight of approaching chaos. Alex's pulse raced, but he did not panic. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and this was no different. Yet the scale of this challenge was unlike anything he had ever encountered. The rogue faction of the Empress's own people, rebels who had rejected her rule, was on the move. They intended to capture him, to prevent humanity from even meeting their ruler. Alex's mind raced. His shuttle was sabotaged, communications jammed, and he was trapped in an alien palace filled with creatures stronger, faster, and smarter than anything on Earth. Yet every fiber of his being screamed that he could not give up. Humans survived because they refused to surrender, because they fought when hope seemed impossible. He drew his sidearm and moved through the pulsing corridors, every step calculated, every breath measured. Shadows shifted in unnatural ways. The walls themselves seemed alive, almost aware of his presence. Alex ducked behind a jagged black pillar as an alien patrol passed. Their forms were thin, with elongated limbs and faces hidden behind reflective masks. They moved with precision, but Alex had something they did not: adaptability. Humans thrived in chaos, and he used it to his advantage. He led them on a chase, slipping through hidden passageways, using the palace's own geometry to his benefit. Above him, the Empress watched from a balcony. Her eyes followed his every move, calm and unreadable. Courage, or madness? She whispered to herself, her voice drifting down the halls like silk. Alex could almost feel her attention pushing him forward, guiding him, challenging him. There was no doubt in her mind that he could face this test. The first wave of attackers cornered him in a wide chamber. Alex's hands moved with trained precision. He activated his compact energy shield and fired, knocking back the creatures with controlled bursts. Each shot, each movement was carefully calculated, but he knew brute force alone would not win. Humans survived not because they were stronger. They survived because they were clever, because they did not quit. As he moved deeper into the palace, Alex noticed symbols etched into the walls. They glowed faintly with a strange energy, pulsing in rhythm with the palace itself. He realized that the Empress had designed this place to be both a fortress and a test. Every turn, every shadow, every movement of the guards was part of a challenge. She wanted to see how he would react under pressure. And Alex, the human, was proving himself. The second wave of attackers approached. This time, Alex had anticipated them. He used the palace's reflective floors to mislead their sensors, leading them into traps and using the environment to turn their own tactics against them. It was exhausting but exhilarating. Humans thrived in adversity because they refused to accept defeat. Every heart-pounding moment reminded Alex of why he was alive, why he was here, and why humans had survived against the odds for so long. Finally, he reached the central chamber. The room was enormous, with pillars stretching upward into darkness. The Empress descended from the shadows, stepping gracefully between the columns. Her presence was overwhelming, yet she made no move to attack. Instead, she watched him with an intensity that made his every nerve tingle. "You have done well, human," she said softly, almost reverently. "Most of your kind would have panicked, fled, or failed. Yet here you are, stronger, faster, smarter, not because of your weapons, but because of your heart. That is what makes your kind remarkable." Alex exhaled, feeling the weight of her words settle into his bones. For centuries, civilizations had risen and fallen in her gaze. Yet here she was, acknowledging him, a single human, as someone worth watching, someone who carried the spark of hope she had long admired. The palace fell silent again, but the tension lingered. Alex knew this was not the end, it was only the beginning. The true challenge, the true test of humanity's spirit, had yet to come. And as he stood there, chest heaving, hands still trembling from exertion, he realized something profound. Humans did not survive because they were invincible. They survived because they refused to give up, because even in the darkest moments, they found a way forward. And the Empress, ancient and powerful, had seen it. Alex stood in the center of the vast chamber, heart still racing from the chase through the palace. The Empress's eyes never left him. Their black depths were like twin voids, yet in them, Alex felt a strange warmth, an understanding that went far beyond words. He had faced death, chaos, and impossible odds, but this moment, this presence, was unlike anything he had ever encountered. She was terrifying yet magnetic, and he realized he was not just being tested. He was being understood. The Empress moved closer, her long, graceful steps silent on the polished floor. "You are brave, human," she said softly, her voice like liquid silk wrapping around his mind. "But bravery alone does not explain why you are here. There is more. Something in your eyes, your mind, your spirit. I've seen it before, long ago, in someone I once knew. Someone who reminded me of your kind." Alex's pulse quickened. I don't understand. Who did you know? Her gaze softened for a fraction of a second, a flicker of emotion breaking through the ancient mask of her power. Centuries ago, there was a species on a distant world. They were strong, clever, full of heart, and I loved them. But time is cruel, they fell. I watched them vanish, and I swore never to hope again. Yet now I see humans, and I feel something I thought was lost forever. Alex's chest tightened. He had expected hostility, danger, and politics, but not this. He was looking at a being older than most civilizations, a ruler whose decisions had shaped planets, and yet she carried grief that spanned centuries. She was not just a vampire empress. She was a soul that had survived the death of worlds and was learning again to recognize life and hope. Humans, she whispered almost reverently. You remind me of what I have lost. You are resilient. You are reckless. You are stubborn, and in that you carry a light that even I cannot extinguish. I see it in you and I cannot look away. Alex felt a mix of awe and responsibility. He had survived countless battles, but this was different. Humans had faced impossible odds before, yet here, facing a being who had watched civilizations die, he realized that humanity itself was being measured, not by weapons, not by technology, but by heart. Humanity's true strength was something even this immortal empress could not ignore. Suddenly, a distant roar shook the palace. The rogue faction was still advancing, relentless. But Alex did not flinch. His fear was tempered by a new understanding. Humans did not survive because they avoided danger. They survived because they faced it together with courage, wit, and determination. He looked at the Empress and saw in her eyes a recognition of that truth. You have survived because your kind never stops, even when the odds are impossible, she said, her voice almost trembling. That is why you are here. That is why I know you, human. You are not just a single life. You are a spark of your species, a flame that refuses to be snuffed out. Alex swallowed hard. He had always believed in humanity, but hearing it from her, someone who had seen entire civilizations destroyed, made the truth undeniable. Humans were small, fragile, often foolish, but in their persistence, in their courage, in their unbreakable spirit, they were extraordinary. The Empress extended her hand toward him, her gesture neither threatening nor inviting, but filled with significance. You have the heart of my lost world in your eyes. I have seen much and I have judged much. Yet I cannot deny this. Humanity, your kind, may be what the galaxy needs to survive. Alex realized then that first contact was no longer about diplomacy or protocol. It was about recognition. Humans were no longer just another species in a galaxy full of dangers. They were being seen, truly seen, by one of the most powerful beings in existence. And that recognition carried weight, responsibility, and hope. He stepped forward, meeting her gaze with as much courage as he could muster. We do. Not give up, he said simply. Humans survive no matter what comes. That's who we are. The Empress's black eyes seemed to shimmer faintly, like stars reflected in a dark lake. For the first time in centuries, she allowed herself a small, genuine smile. Then perhaps, there is hope after all, she whispered. In that moment, Alex understood something profound. Humans were small in the universe, fragile and fleeting, yet they carried a light that could pierce even the darkest night. And she, immortal, terrifying, ancient, had finally seen it. Alex had faced danger before, but nothing prepared him for what came next. The rogue faction surged through the palace like a tide of shadows, their weapons gleaming under the dim light. They were fast, coordinated, and ruthless, yet Alex stood his ground. Every human instinct in him screamed to fight, to survive, to protect the spark of his species. He raised his sidearm and ducked behind a jagged black pillar, taking careful aim. Above him, the Empress watched silently, her expression unreadable. But Alex sensed something different, something like curiosity. She was not intervening, yet she was not indifferent. Her presence itself was a test, a challenge, a silent question. Could a human survive here in the heart of her domain, against forces meant to destroy him? Alex took a deep breath and focused. Humans had survived the impossible before. They thrived not because they were stronger. They thrived because they refused to surrender. He fired, careful and precise, disabling several of the attackers without killing them. His training emphasized survival, strategy, and minimal loss, and now it served him well. Using the reflective floors and the shifting shadows of the palace, he led the attackers on a chase, each movement calculated to give him an advantage. The palace itself seemed alive, responding to every step he took, guiding him through paths only a human mind could navigate. Then the Empress descended from the balcony, stepping gracefully into the chamber. Her presence was overwhelming, yet she radiated calm. She did not attack. Yet Alex could feel her power pressing around him like an invisible force. She was watching, analyzing, understanding, and in that understanding, she recognized something she had not seen in centuries: the indomitable spirit of humanity. "Your courage is remarkable," she whispered, her voice carrying through the chamber like a melody. "Most of your kind would have fallen by now, but you carry something far greater than skill or strength. You carry hope and you carry defiance. That is why you are still here." Alex felt a surge of pride. Humans were small, fragile, and often underestimated. Yet here he stood, alive, facing forces meant to overwhelm him, because he refused to surrender, and the Empress saw it. That recognition, from a being older than time, filled him with a strange warmth, a fierce pride that no battle could take away. "Perhaps we can work together," Alex said cautiously, still keeping his weapon ready. "I don't know what your people fight for or why they attack me, but if we can find common ground, maybe we can survive this." The Empress's black eyes studied him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. "You are reckless," she said softly, "and yet brave. Perhaps your kind is not just survival instinct. Perhaps your kind is something more. Very well, human. I will stand with you. But know this: trust is earned, not given." At her signal, a wave of her own loyal guards emerged from the shadows, forming a barrier between Alex and the rogue attackers. The sudden alliance turned the tide. The rogue faction faltered, confused by the unexpected support Alex now had. Humans were clever, but with the Empress's power backing him, Alex felt invincible, not because he had become stronger, but because he had proven that humanity could earn respect, even from the most ancient and powerful beings in the galaxy. As the battle raged around them, Alex realized something profound. Humans were not alone in the universe. They had allies even in the most unexpected forms. They were small, fragile, and often underestimated, but their courage, adaptability, and unyielding spirit could earn even the respect of an immortal Empress. The rogue attackers were driven back, and the palace fell into a tense silence. Alex's chest heaved, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. The Empress stepped closer, her presence filling the chamber. "You have survived," she said simply. "Not because of weapons, not because of technology, but because of your heart. That is something no empire, no force, no immortal being can take from you." Alex looked at her and realized that the galaxy was watching. Humans had arrived and they were seen, not as prey, not as weaklings, but as something extraordinary. And even an alien vampire Empress, terrifying and ancient, recognized that spark, that courage, that heart. For the first time, Alex understood what the Empress had meant when she whispered, "I know you, human." It was not just him. It was humanity. Their hope, their defiance, their unbroken spirit. And now, together, they had a chance to change the course of this conflict. The chamber shook violently as explosions echoed through the palace. The rogue faction had not given up. They were relentless, and their attack grew stronger with every passing second. Alex could feel the pressure of the building collapse, shards of crystal and metal raining down around him. Yet he did not retreat. Humans had survived worse. They had survived wars, disasters, and the cold void of space itself. They had survived against creatures stronger, faster, and smarter than themselves. And now, in the heart of the Empress Palace, he would survive again. But then he saw the Empress falter. She had moved to protect him, stepping into the path of the attackers with grace and precision. Her dark eyes, normally unflinching, betrayed a flicker of worry. Alex realized the danger was far greater than he had imagined. If she fell, there would be no one to stop the rogue faction from taking control. Humanity's first contact could end in catastrophe. Without thinking, Alex made his decision. He activated the emergency override of his shuttle, a maneuver that risked his own life but could create a protective barrier around the Empress. The blast of energy surged outward, creating a shimmering shield of force that deflected the attackers' weapons. The air vibrated with heat and light, and Alex felt himself thrown violently across the chamber. Pain shot through his body and blood trickled down his temple, but he gritted his teeth. He had done it. The Empress was safe. She knelt beside him immediately, her hand glowing with strange alien energy. She placed it on his shoulder and he felt the searing pain begin to ebb. Her long fingers moved with precision, knitting flesh and bone, halting the worst of his injuries. Her eyes, dark and endless, softened in a way that Alex had not expected. "You are foolish," she whispered, her voice a mixture of exasperation and admiration. "And yet, brave beyond measure, humans, you carry a fire I thought was lost to the universe." Alex coughed, trying to speak. "It's in what we do," he said weakly. "We survive. We fight. We protect those who can't protect themselves." The Empress's gaze lingered on him, and for a moment Alex saw centuries of grief, loss, and loneliness behind her black eyes. She had ruled for centuries, seen countless lives snuffed out, watched civilizations crumble. And yet in that instant she was moved by the courage of one human. The weight of her long life pressed down on him, yet instead of fear he felt honor. Humanity had earned her respect, and he had carried that spark to her side. Around them the palace slowly quieted. The rogue faction, disoriented by the unexpected alliance and Alex's desperate maneuver, had retreated. The echoes of battle faded, leaving only the hum of the palace itself. Alex could barely stand, his body trembling, yet his mind was clear. Humans survived not because they were strong, but because they refused to give in to despair. They endured because hope was stronger than fear. The Empress stood, her tall form towering over him. "You have risked everything," she said softly, "and yet you act not for yourself but for others. That is a quality I have rarely seen, and it is why I see your kind differently now. You are remarkable, human, more than I ever imagined." Alex managed a weak smile, pride mingled with pain. "We try our best," he said. "It's all we know how to do." She nodded, her black eyes glimmering faintly. For the first time she allowed herself to feel hope, not just for herself but for the future. "Your kind may be small," she whispered, "fragile, fleeting, yet you carry a light that no darkness can snuff out. That light may change the galaxy." Alex looked around at the ruined chamber, at the remnants of the battle, and realized something profound. Humanity's first contact was not just about diplomacy or survival. It was about proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds they could endure. They could inspire respect, even in the hearts of beings older and more powerful than the stars themselves. And for the first time, he saw it in the Empress's expression, a glimmer of faith, of understanding, of connection. Humanity was no longer invisible. They were seen, acknowledged, and honored. Alex collapsed to one knee, exhausted but alive, and as the Empress stood beside him, watching over the palace she ruled and the human who had risked everything, he knew the battle had ended, but the story of humanity in this galaxy was only just beginning. The palace was quiet now. The echoes of battle had faded, leaving only the soft hum of ancient energy that coursed through its walls. Alex leaned against a fractured pillar, his body battered, bruised, and exhausted. Yet in his chest his heart pounded with the fierce pride of survival. Humans had endured impossible odds before, but today, in the heart of an alien world, they had done something far greater. They had earned recognition. The Empress descended from the shadowed balcony, her long robes flowing like liquid night. Her black eyes, once cold and distant, now held something rare: respect. She looked at Alex with an intensity that made his skin tingle. "You have shown me much, human," she said softly. "Bravery, resilience, and the spark of hope I thought lost to the universe. I see your kind now, truly see it, and it is extraordinary." Alex straightened, his fatigue momentarily forgotten. "We don't give up," he said simply, voice firm despite the pain. "We face the impossible and we survive. That's who we are." The Empress tilted her head slightly, a gesture that carried centuries of wisdom and emotion. "And yet you are more than your survival. You fight not for glory, not for power, but because it is right. That is a quality I have rarely witnessed, and it humbles me." For the first time, Alex saw a softness in her, an openness that had never existed before. She was ancient, terrifying, a ruler of civilizations, yet here she was, acknowledging humanity's worth. He realized then what humans had always known, but the galaxy had often forgotten: courage, hope, and heart were the greatest powers of all. Around them, the palace seemed to exhale, as if even the walls recognized the change. The rogue faction had been driven back, but more importantly, a bond had been formed. Humans were no longer unseen wanderers in the cosmos. They were participants, a species capable of earning the respect of even the oldest, most powerful beings. The Empress extended her hand, and Alex hesitated for only a moment before taking it. There was no threat, no expectation, only understanding. "Perhaps your kind is not just survival," she whispered. "Perhaps your kind is something the galaxy needs. I will watch over your people and I will honor the fire you carry." Alex felt a wave of awe. The human race was small, fragile, and often underestimated. Yet here was proof that even one human could embody the spirit of an entire species, and earn the respect of an alien empress whose name was spoken with fear across galaxies. Humanity had arrived. As Alex turned toward his repaired shuttle, the Empress followed him to the viewport. The rings of violet gas spun around and crawled like ethereal storms, and the black sun cast shadows that danced like living creatures. "Your kind is remarkable," she said. "I have seen civilizations fall, worlds crumble, and stars die. Yet humanity, you have survived where others would have failed. Perhaps there is hope for the universe after all." Alex looked at her and smiled, though it was weak from exhaustion. "And I've seen the courage in your people," he said. "Even in darkness there is honor. Even in fear there is strength. We may be small, but we endure. We fight, we survive, and we inspire." For a long moment they stood in silence, two beings from different worlds, different centuries, bound by something neither had expected: respect, recognition, and a shared understanding of courage. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders, but now humans had a place in it, a voice that mattered, a spark that would not be ignored. As the shuttle lifted off, Alex looked back at the Empress and the palace she ruled. She watched him with a small, genuine smile, the first in centuries. Somewhere deep in her ancient heart, she knew humans were more than they appeared. Small, yes, but powerful in ways the universe had forgotten. And that knowledge, that understanding, would change everything. Alex leaned back in his seat, chest swelling with pride. Humanity had survived impossible odds, earned trust, and inspired one of the galaxy's most feared beings. They were no longer invisible. They were seen. They were respected. They were alive, and they would rise. As the stars stretched out before him, Alex whispered to himself, a vow to carry forward the spirit of humanity. "We will endure. We will inspire. We will rise." And somewhere in the silent expanse of the galaxy, the Empress whispered back almost to herself, "Yes, you will." Humanity had begun its legacy. The galaxy had noticed.